Hello, and welcome to the Future Skills Show, brought to you by Truro and Penwith College and the Future Skills Institute. My name is Russell Cosway, and I'm hosting a discussion with industry professionals, educators and students on the emerging skills in businesses and what's needed from education. We hope to dispel some myths, define some challenges ahead and do some crystal ball gazing. In this episode, we're talking manufacturing and engineering. Now, this is a huge industry. 18% of the UK workforce in such areas as aerospace, chemicals, electronics, fashion, paper, plant, power, printing, software, medical and toys. To help me drill into some of this huge industry's future skills needs, with me I have Peter Wroe, who is the Managing Director of Eliquo, Hydrok, I knew I'd get it wrong. Philip Anthony, Sales and Directing Manager for DP Engineering, and Nick Tillyer, Automotive and Engineering Programme Lead for Truro and Penwith College. So I'll try and get the rest right later on. Let's kick off, and I think we need to first define some stuff. And so if I could turn to you first, Philip.
Yep.
Let's talk engineering. How would you define engineering in your business? And whilst you're there, tell us a little bit about DP Engineering.
Yeah, no problem, Russell. So I think we'll probably start with who are DP Engineering. So we're a subcontract precision engineering company. We takes a customer's project and we'll turn it into different types of components for them, different materials using our CNC manufacturing processes. We've been going since 1952, so we've been going a long time now. It's actually our 70th year this year, which is good. We're a team of 36 at the minute. Mix of skilled, semi-skilled and trainees, both male and female, which is good to see so far. Industries, you touch a couple just then. So we're aerospace, oil and gas is our main industries. Aerospace been tough the last 2 years, where the medical sector has then been booming up, which has been good. Engineering as a whole, how long we got? Probably the big thing to
We've got about an hour, so don't take it all.
We won't take it all, but I think for us, we do a lot of the problem solving for our customers. So our customers come to us for an issue. We will hopefully be able to put that into our manufacturing processes and solve a problem for them, using the new technologies, the sciences and things of that within our capabilities. But I think it's for us, it's problem solving. I would say the big thing for us.
Just so I can pick you up on, you use one abbreviation of CNC. What does that mean?
Computer numeric controlled.
Okay, and what does that mean?
So the machines are operated with G codes. So the all
G codes don't get me started.
Brings back some history.
We'll be a whole discussion on just the abbreviations. No, so what's G codes are?
So it's a language that the CNC machines read.
Oh, okay.
Our process is all programmed offline. So we'll use a CAD/CAM software, and then that CAD/CAM software will then generate the coding for our CNC machines.
Okay.
In short.
All right. Well, enough on engineering. That was brief enough. We'll get back to that. Perhaps more on the manufacturing side. Eliquo, Hydrok. I knew I could say it right eventually, Peter. What's manufacturing then, and how does Eliquo Hydrok fit into that category?
Thanks, Russell. So, effectively, Eliquo Hydrok, we're based at Indian Queens, Cornish company, been operating 20 years. We employ 130 people, range of roles and skills. We've currently got 7 apprentices. We've just advertised 4 more apprentices this week to coincide with the show.
Wow.
And effectively, we do everything from design through to engineering and installation of large-scale wastewater treatment equipment. We work with all the water companies around the UK and some in Europe as well. And it's one of those hidden Cornish gems, really, that people may not have heard of. Manufacturing for us, we've got the classic large-scale heavy engineering manufacturing factory. Guys and girls with welding torches, face masks, through all of the process of doing that. We also have design at the front end, so we've got a bit of both manufacturing and engineering. And there's a running joke that the engineers like to tell the manufacturers what to make.
Yeah.
But actually, in manufacturing, there's a lot of, particularly some of the work that Nick's doing at the college, there's a lot of future thinking stuff about how you make the manufacturing process slicker and quicker.
Yeah.
You've probably heard the term lean manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at things like robotics, etc. So there's quite a lot of really interesting stuff in that space that we need the skills for the future.
So manufacturing is still in that. There's still people on a line, sort of thing. Still production lines. It's quite a long-standing style of business, isn't it? But you're saying there's a whole stack of new technologies coming in to either simplify that or automate it.
Precisely, and you can either look at cell manufacturing, you can look at lean process manufacturing, and from a managing director perspective, it's how we get stuff to the customers with the shortest lead time in the most efficient way, whilst giving people a rewarding job.
Well, I think we'll come back to the who tells who what to do later on. But firstly, Nick, what does education offer to this industry, or how is it structured, especially obviously in Truro and Penwith College?
Sure. Well, I think we've always structured it based on need and demand, and I think for a long time, and I think to some extent still exists, a culture of people migrating from company to company, and it's always the case where, you know, I think it's quite a small industry. Well, it's quite a compact industry in Cornwall. Everyone knows everyone. So we've looked at it from the point of view to introduce new skills, new people to that, instead of, you know, just this conveyor belt of skills going round and round. And to do that, we need to understand industry and the needs of industry. And I think that's difficult from the perspective that engineering in Cornwall has always coped by a lot of overtime, a lot of you know, in peak times where you've got a rush on a job that you've got, or a big batch that's coming through. It's very famine and feast. So taking on new people and having them, you know, then idle for a short period of time, it's not very attractive to employer. It's difficult sometimes. So yeah. I think at the moment, you know, we're looking at skills and we're looking at long-term, hard-to-fill vacancies. We're looking at aspects that employers find hard to find in young people. To help them do what they're doing. So our job really is to look at the shortages and make sure that whoever's coming through the process is ready for work. And that's not just skills ready, it's not just, I mean, we talk about future ready and future skills. Really what we're talking about is not just, it's not awareness of manufacturing process, it's not just that, it's also being ready for work and ready to adapt. And you know, during the lockdown, a number of companies had to adapt very, very quickly. Not only in what they were doing, how they were doing it, and that resilience and adaptability, I think, is key for manufacturing in Cornwall going forward. You've got to have a workforce that's flexible, that's adaptable to change, and you're able to react to market changes very quickly. So, future skills, forward-gazing, you need flexibility, really.
Yeah. Oh, okay. When you're both agreeing with that one, what are the challenges you're facing currently? Perhaps you'd like to say.
For us, it's probably not so much the technical ability. It's probably more the soft skills, the people skills, the youngsters knowing how to come into an environment such as, you know, a production environment such as ourselves. Yeah. We've definitely seen a big lack in that, more over the COVID period than we have before. You know, the technical bits, you know, we're quite niche in what we do. We do piggyback off the colleges, but they'll kind of learn a lot of the skills that we need on site. But it's all the back skills which we find we miss before they come to us, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. On the softer skills side, we've been incredibly lucky. We've got a team of top-notch apprentices that the college have been helping us with, both technically but also on the softer skills. Is a really important point that Philip makes, because often this is people's first role in a workforce.
Yeah.
And I started out at 16. I didn't go to university, and I had to knock off some green edges around that. You know, this is the big world of work. Yeah. But then on the technical side, for us particularly, I talked earlier about the evolution, things like robotics, artificial intelligence, etc. I know the college are doing a lot of work around what those future skills look like. And some of our time served employees that have got tons of experience at the stuff they're really, really good at haven't ever touched, you know, AI.
No.
And when we had a tour around the Future Skills Institute and we looked at some what was it, the AI welding tool,
Yep.
which was really cool, and
Brilliant.
you can learn and have a go at it.
Yeah.
My score was shaky, but it was that's not what I do as my job. But skills like that come through in how you use computers and ICT a lot more, rather than just a good old-fashioned lathe, is really important, and bringing people in at the workforce at that level is helpful to us.
Yeah, it was quite interesting touring the institute building, Valencia building at the campus in Truro the other day, and yeah, I watched somebody gingerly use the welding tool. So the base skills in manufacturing and engineering presumably haven't changed much in, how long has DP engineering been going?
1952, 70 years.
So 70 years. The core of it, I suppose, is a lathe and welding and...
Yeah, the general process for us doesn't change. You've still got an engineering drawing with some of the drawings we're working with go back to 1960s, and we're still using those drawings today. But because it worked. Don't change what isn't broken. But the technology's moved on. So with the shortages we've seen in skilled people, we've invested in technology to get around it, more than man running. But that changes the dynamic of who's going to be able to operate that? Like Peter said there, who's going to be able to operate that machinery, because the skill has jumped massively, and
it changes the skill
that's
required.
it. Yeah, in our investment, just the last 12 months has seen a big jump in automation, the robotics of the machine. The machine runs itself, but you've got to have somebody that can set that machine to that ability, and that's a big gap as well.
Yes, we saw at the event the XYZ or Z machine. I don't know how American it is. I mean that essentially it was a lathe type of device. I know nothing about these things, but it was all about the programming. Is that where all the future skills need to be going? Is all to AI, all to programming, all to G code, whatever it might be? I
think it's going to be a mixed picture. So I think. We've got some skills that we still deliver that are very traditional, using a lathe, using a mill. Those things are about learning how your hands move, learning how material feels when you cut it, understanding the principles of making something. The equipment we use by a company called XYZ, based in Somerset, and we've tried to, sustainability point of view, we try to buy equipment as locally as we can. But I think the one you're referring to is a 5-axis mill. So it's something that be used in DP as a it's a mainstay. It's normal in that respect, and that's nothing particularly new. It's just an excellent capability for a college to have. I think that the future skills we're looking at, the things that are going to be in demand in the future, certainly programming, and we're looking at companies at the moment who are replacing some activities with robotics, and that's a reaction to a the lack of skills, but also efficiency. And every manufacturer is always trying to reduce the waste of manufacturing. All those things that contribute to becoming your product, your end product, being less competitive in the marketplace. So you're always trying to reduce those wastes. And I think automation is a big part of that. But even down to companies like dairy companies who are producing cheese manufacturing, that automation is absolutely critical now. There's very little hands-on. It's all very much control systems engineering. So programmable logic controllers, lots of mechatronics. Automation is almost certainly going to be a big part of the Cornish economy for engineering and manufacturing in the future. And that's not necessarily... I think we've got to do that to stay competitive. What we produce in Cornwall is extremely high value, low volume. We don't really do mass producing from a traditional sense. So those whole production lines don't really exist. It's lots of batch production. But we're creating things that are very valuable products, of very high quality, and very few people in the world have got some of the capabilities that we've got in Cornwall. We've got some amazing things going on. Yeah,
that's interesting. I suppose going to Peter, you said that the Eliquo Hydrok was a hidden gem. Are we leading in manufacturing? Are we niche manufacturing, or is Cornwall the place to be for manufacturing and engineering as well?
I think from our perspective, in our specific industry, we're one of the market leaders in the products that we've got. And you ask someone in the water industry, they'd know Eliquo Hydrok. You ask somebody just generally in Cornwall, even 2 or 3 miles away from Indian Queens, they probably don't know us because we're not a consumer-facing brand.
No.
But I think our style of manufacturing and the way we do it, we do get people come from up country to come and see the shop floor, see what it looks like, how we've set it out. We're just investing in bead blasting, so we've got people to come and take a look at how we're doing that and what that looks like. So we're very open for helping people up country understand what good manufacturing looks like. That's not to say we've not got some lessons to learn ourselves, and we import effectively skills and experience from up country as well to complement what we've got here. But first and foremost, we're a Cornish company, and that's why we want to help people grow those future skills so that they can come onto the shop floor from a Cornish background and help us progress that way.
So, I mean, you definitely believe that the future is in building local talent, not importing talent and trying to house it.
I think now that's a very political discussion we could properly get into.
I thought I'd throw it in. Why not?
That's a bit early for that type of chat. So effectively, it's a mix really. So definitely Cornish talent at all levels, apprenticeships, more experienced people. I've just joined as joint managing director at the top level, so definitely from a Cornish perspective, most Cornish as we can. But also we do recognise that to stay, to Nick's point, to stay at the forefront of what we do and to be world class, we do need to bring in some skills and experience from elsewhere, particularly as we grow as an organisation. Sometimes you can't grow your own in line with that, and you need to bring one or two roles in at a higher level.
Yeah. Well, all said and done, experience still counts for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is it the same in
Yeah, I think
engineering?
we've always seen the Cornwall being the beaches and the hotels, ice creams, but it's been hard to get the message out that there's some great manufacturing going on in Cornwall. DP itself, we're manufacturing some other widgets for Rolls-Royce, Airbus, Boeing, but you wouldn't realise it goes on down in Cornwall. You wouldn't realise at all. I didn't realise.
No.
Didn't have a clue. I walked into the factory 8 years ago and I was like, what is this? It's all a bit foreign to me, but there's some great things going on, and just touching back on the skills and kind of the in-house stuff. I would say 90% of DP's team have kind of grown within DP. All the senior management and the kind of the production engineers have all come from bottom-up approach, and we try and keep that skill where we can in the building, and grow them where we can.
And I mean, that leads me on to a point about the type of roles that are in your businesses, because perhaps I didn't know about DP Engineering until we came to record this show. I knew, obviously, because I know you from the past of where you got to, but I didn't know what you did. I knew it was in water. But what are I don't know what skills there are or what kind of roles there are in your businesses.
So if we take ours, for example, so let's take the apprentices as an example. We've got apprentices in the finance office, we've got apprentices in the drawing office, which effectively those with an aptitude for shapes, maths, engineering, science, absolutely love it in there using computer-aided design. We've then got apprentices on the shop floor, so welders, fabricators, metal workers, working through that. And then we've also got apprentices in our installation team, so they go out on site and install on a customer's premises. So we've got that range of manufacturing skills, and then we've got the more traditional skills. We've got HR, we've got marketing, etc. All the things that the business needs to run. And the 4 apprenticeships we've just launched. So we need 2 more welders, fabricators. We need an electrical engineer because we build our own electrical panels, and then we've also got a mechanical engineer to go out on site and do the installation. So we've got the kind of whole range of manufacturing skills that we need.
Yeah.
One of our challenges is location, and you might find this as well, Philip. Cornwall's not the easiest place to travel, particularly if you've maybe not started driving for long, or maybe you don't earn that much money. So we're almost limited, as Cornwall generally actually is a peninsula, but also I think where we are in different parts of Cornwall, the catchment area to bring in those with the aptitude and the skills and give them a career is increasingly challenging. That's
interesting. Okay, and what about the roles in
I think very similar to Peter there, but we've got, I'll probably go back to, I started as an engineer, thought I wanted to be an engineer, and I've gone into sales. Didn't think that even existed back then. I didn't know those sort of roles were within the engineering environment, down to the HR, down to marketing, down to the quality, down to the actual engineers of the actual machines. It's something you don't know what you don't know. How do you get that out to the youngsters coming through from school level, wanting to go to college to learn engineering, to know those career pathways that do exist.
I mean, that kind of shouts at education and said, how do you educate the ones that are due to be educated in what to be educated in? Sorry, Nick. I'll write that down.
I'll get all the easy ones today, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I'm lining all the easy questions up for you.
Yeah, that's great. I think we've, we have got an issue in that young people. When I say young people, I don't mean sort of 16-year-olds. I mean sort of 10 and below. Don't have enough opportunity to deal with aspects that would be motivational for them to work towards a career in engineering or manufacturing. There's very little that happens in school curriculum that really helps people make those decisions and choices. And I think that's it's incredibly important that we try and boost the profile of engineering and manufacturing at primary level all the way through to secondary. Because by the time you've made your choices for your GCSEs, it's kind of too late if you're now deciding that engineering might be something you want to do. It's never too late, but it makes life a lot more simple. But I think it's we do an awful lot of outreach with schools, and some schools are more open to us visiting than others. There's still very much a view that apprenticeships manufacturing is kind of it's not aspirational from the point of view. It could be a bit of a grubby, dirty sort of existence where you're working in the dark and you don't see much sunlight. And it couldn't be any further from the truth. The technology in the manufacturing in Cornwall is incredibly good. And I think the opportunities for young people are so positive, especially with recent developments, especially at the spaceport, which will touch on manufacturing. Every manufacturer will have an impact of that activity. I think it's motivating young people to make sure they realise that is an option. And also, we have got a gender inequality issue in engineering and manufacturing. There are far too few women in engineering. And it's nothing new, and it's not something that's been ignored. I mean, there's been an awful lot of work to try and encourage that. We work with WISE, a group who try and encourage young women into engineering, and we've always promoted very, very carefully to make sure that we're helping those people to make those choices. But it doesn't happen early enough. And if you're a girl and you're in primary school, it's not at the forefront of a possibility for you. And I think that needs to change, because we're missing out on 50% of the workforce at the moment that we desperately need to help things grow. But it's, just on the things we make in Cornwall, I asked my team at college the other day, I said, if someone said to you manufacturing or engineering, where geographically does your mind go? And bearing in mind we live in Cornwall, we work in engineering, it doesn't instantly always go to Cornwall. You think, well, instantly Northern Powerhouse. That's kind of like a bit of a political aspect that's been drilled into the population. That's where we do and make things historically, yes we did. And also Wales, where you've got a very good cluster for aerospace. But we don't really look at ourselves and go, what we're doing is amazing, and what we're doing is amazing. There's no question that we've got capabilities that are outstanding in engineering. And I think we've got to do more to promote our own industry within Cornwall and beyond, to attract the right talent, to attract the right companies down to work with us, and to really raise the profile of what engineering is and does for the South West.
That's interesting, and also we also have the out of country massive manufacturing that goes on, engineering goes on. If mine goes to China, perhaps as one of the big manufacturing centres in the world, seems to do a lot of component work, especially. Is there ever a future in England or the UK or even Europe, let's say, to get back into the mass manufacturing, mass engineering department, or are we going to stay niche or small and beautiful? Hey. Peter.
Thanks.
I'll throw that one at you.
So if I take our example, we're heavy manufacturing. We build great big tanks the size of this room. So from our customer's perspective, it's better to have the raw materials imported, lightweight on transport from Europe, and then we build it in this country, and then it's more value for money for the customer at the other end.
Yeah.
Our own specific company, I can't see us going to huge large-scale batch manufacturing. However, we've got some recent examples where we've done that with some forward-thinking water companies, where we have manufactured batches all at once, and as Nick and Philip will know, that just gives you a lot more efficiency, a lot more throughput in the factory, keeps the workforce busy, keeps us going forward on that basis. But I think, to the question wider, I think it's difficult for Cornwall to maybe do that large scale, compete with overseas, particularly Asia Pacific, because of the cost of labour, the cost of employment, the cost of accommodation, both for the employee but also the employer. So Cornwall at the moment is really hard to find commercial space, and when you do, it's expensive. There's a number of more macroeconomic factors that's not just Cornwall, more wider UK, I think, we'd struggle to compete with the Far East on.
Okay. And is that the same in the engineering field? Or?
Yeah, I think for DP, we definitely have seen a small amount of reshoring happen. Not so much the large volumes though, but yeah, we can't compete on some of the prices. I think the price variance definitely has narrowed. 5 years ago we wouldn't be able to touch it, but we are competing with the newer technology that we bring in. We are able to be more efficient and offer a better price, which price is two things. You've got a piece price and you've got the cost of the product. What you've got to try and get out is you've got the cost of the product with, you've got someone delivering it, you've got transport, you've got all the duties compared to a piece price. And if you can split that out, then yeah, I think the UK, Cornwall are more competitive.
I think it's also a question of value. So whilst we might not be the cheapest in our market and the customer potentially could buy from overseas, and it's maybe similar in Philip's sector, we're in the UK. We manufacture to a high standard, and we're really proud of the product that goes out there with 25-year warranties on it. And we're practically on the doorstep compared to the Far East. So, if there's a problem, we've got installation teams around the UK that we can send in 24 hours notice and get it fixed. Whereas when you're a small customer of a large batch manufacturer overseas, that's more difficult.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so changing back to the roles, when you're looking for staff, you mentioned apprenticeships a few times. Is there a qualification you're seeking your apprentices to get, and what are you looking for as employers in the marketplace?
First question is culture. Whether you've got the right qualifications or not, you've got to be the right kind of person.
Okay.
And particularly if we talk apprentices, it's got to be somebody that's willing to learn, somebody that is willing to sit alongside the experienced people in the factory, the shop floor, and glean the information and the knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's somebody that's willing to put the hard work in at college. I've seen apprentices over many years. Some of them don't realise actually there's quite a bit of hard work at college. They're nice people and they're lovely, but there's quite a bit of work to do as well.
Do something.
Yeah. They've got to turn up. They've got to do the out of college work, and they've got to do the work in the premises as well. So first and foremost, it's culture fit. I've got the aptitude. Then there's a qualifications kind of filter, which may be around how they did at GCSEs. But then we run an actual kind of open day where all the potential candidates that we've shortlisted on those two criteria come in, and we do some interviews with them, and it's many people's first job interview, so we make adjustment for that and make the understanding for that. We've had some cracking examples of people on paper you might think, but you get them in, you're like, you're exactly the type of person we want in our organisation, and people have gone from there.
What are qualifications?
I don't know if I could agree more with Peter there. I think the biggest thing for us is the fit. If you don't fit into a team, then yeah, unfortunately that's probably the biggest thing on our list. We've just recruited 7 trainees within the last 6 months, and my CEO Martin Legg, the only thing he was interested in, will you fit into the team? Because the technical aspect, well, you can learn on site. Got an understanding of engineering drawings and that sort of side of things, but if you can't fit, we're quite a small team. If you can't fit into our team, then it's not going to work. So I think the fits and the cultures definitely would second that.
Wow. So Nick, not an HND, HNC mentioned.
No,
from our two. What's the college? How's the college going to deal with that?
Well, I think it's I think we're going through a particularly difficult time at the moment where those skills of teamwork, working together, appreciating others, has been challenging for a lot of young people. It's been a very difficult time, and we're probably seeing we are seeing an impact from that in that when it comes to problem solving and team working, young students just aren't quite there at the moment. But that's nothing particularly new. It's you've come from a position of being at school, you come into a college where we're getting people ready for work, and that's not just absolutely agree. It's not just about skills and knowledge. It's also about that attitude, and people have got to be work ready. And work ready is being able to adapt, being able to fit into a team, to problem solve, and all those things that are really important. And I think every employer, when they look at someone who's coming through the door and potentially for a job, they're looking really at attitude. And at the end of the day, it's I was going to say it's easy. It's not easy, but it's relatively simple, straightforward to deliver skills and knowledge to improve people's ability. What is hard to change is an attitude, and I think that's what we're really got to work on the next few years. Certainly through the fallout from the pandemic, is that the social skills just weren't developed as well as they should do in some people, and they haven't got the confidence they did have, and they don't really understand what might be out there, and they didn't get any careers advice, and all these things that are now adding up to becoming a bit of a challenge for employers to find the right fit for their company, which I think really is probably where we've got to do more on work placement, work experience. I think that's absolutely critical, and that's something we're working on at the moment, to look at some of our qualifications and think, well, how do we adapt this? Can we make this into something that exposes people more to work and exposes more people to potential employers, so they can actually find the right fit for their company? And one person who walks into employer A might not work, employer B might be the perfect fit. So lots of work to do in that respect.
Yes, and the softer skills as well presumably need developing in, as you said, in people as part of the education. What would you say to other education, like the below 11s schools education? Would you want them to be inviting businesses in to talk to their classes? Is that where we need to be?
Yeah, I think it is. I think we need to do, and it's a big commitment from industry. I mean, I'm not going to suggest we burden. They've got their own problems. We can't burden them with all of ours as well. But there is I think a shared responsibility to make sure that there is that exposure in schools, even from a point of view of just problem solving, working in small teams to overcome issues, to help design and manufacture, to help come up with ideas, that creative side of things. I think we've had for a long time a reduction in the number of or the type of qualification in schools that drive that sort of those sort of skills. Very few schools now. There are good examples in Cornwall delivering engineering or design technology. They are reducing, and some of that's down to skills of teaching staff. There aren't the staff to deliver those qualifications. Some of it's down to cost. It's very high, difficult to do, expensive, and but if we want a future-ready workforce, we've got to find a balance there. We've got to get more help for schools, I think, and especially for careers advisors.
Yes. Okay. I mean, so now we talked a lot about young people. What about those that might be looking at a changing career? I've been through one, quite dramatic, from IT into compliance and then into sustainability. Is that something you support? You mentioned apprentices. Are they usually young, 18, 19-year-old people, or have you got apprentices from a whole range of ages?
From our perspective, they're generally younger people, because that's the traditional apprentice. But we have had people that have come in that had roles elsewhere, done other things. We had one guy join us from the RAF and has come straight into our tendering department. So they don't necessarily need to be young people, and you can do a mature, higher level apprenticeship. So the lady that's working in our finance team is going through the SEMA qualification at the moment, which is a chartered management accountant, as a kind of a senior role as through the apprenticeship. So we're open to that range, and actually it doesn't need to be an apprenticeship route for the more time-served people. I know the college have been running boot camps and things like that, where we've had some experience of picking up people that have never picked up a welding torch, had a go, and then said, actually, I'm quite good at this, I quite fancy a role, and we've given them a job interview and gone from there. So it's not all just about apprentices and people coming through, and Future Skills is about people at a range of ages and genders coming through into the industry.
Yeah, and what about engineering?
The route that we've kind of adopted is the trainee route, just because it kind of opens up that band of there isn't an age. And with the recent applicants that we've had, they range from 16 to, I think the oldest one we had was 45. And we, out of the 7 people, we've got male and female that we're taking on. And they've ended up with complete different skill set coming in. Not one of them had an engineering background, but they had their own individual skills, which we can kind of adopt and kind of bring into what we want. We have got 2 apprentices at the minute, which are going through Truro. but we find the training or trainee sort of routes work well for us.
Okay, so nurture from within if you can, and bring them up.
And then use external, courses where needed, or they'll go down to the colleges or off-site to an external provider if we can't support it. Then just do our own internal training package.
Okay. You mentioned boot camps. What's a boot camp, Nick?
Yeah, so it's a relatively recent initiative to provide funding to upskill people who are looking to make a change in their life. I think post-pandemic, a lot of people, I think it'd be unusual if you didn't question if this is exactly what you wanted to do going forward. And it's it's one of those things. A lot of people have made some quite brave decisions about their future. Other people have lost employment through closure of businesses and so on. And there's been an element of people who want to retrain. And so the boot camps, it's an initiative to provide funding for people who are looking for a change in their life, regardless of age. And to give them a skill that's completely new to them in a very short and compact space of time, and get them ready for the world of work. So we've run several at the college so far. The one that I was looking after was welding. So we looked at it from a point of view, well, if you're completely new to welding, what do you need to be able to walk into a company and say, I can do a bit of welding? And we were never going to produce people who are seasoned, experienced welders with years under their belt, who are super confident. We were going to produce people who had a really good start and a really good chance at getting a great job. So the boot camp in welding ran over 10 weeks, and we did three different cohorts for that. And in that 10 weeks, you came to the college, and it was a busy day, but a compact week. So people still had part-time jobs, could still work, and people with childcare could still look after kids and so on. And in those 10 weeks, people developed skills in welding and fabrication, and left at the end of those 10 weeks with a code in welding, which is an important measure of quality. But all those skills and that experience, and an interview with an employer to say that you've got those skills, you've developed that. Yeah. Let's get you a job. And I think it was a huge success. It's very rare. We had a visit from a Ofsted inspector during it, and the industry were great in supporting us with what we needed to do, what we needed to deliver in that qualification to make it work. There was no formal qualification, but what do we need to put in that program that gave people the skills that they needed to be able to move forward? And we had some great feedback from the inspection we had. Really proud of the team and what they achieved with that. And the feedback from, I think, just about everyone who attended that, it was fantastic. But we had everyone from self-employed people who had a small business who were looking to increase their capability or experience of welding, through to people who were looking for a complete life change. So really interesting program, and those boot camps are going to be continuing. Our next one is in electric vehicle technology, so to try and help that one, which is going to be really interesting, I think. And we've got some great facilities, but the boot camps, I think, we haven't done a vast amount of plus 19 work in engineering at Truro College, and that's something we're going to be doing a lot more of going forward. And I think it's great. And again, back to flexibility, adaptability, having people that are able to change jobs and change roles throughout their lives. I think it's really important now. So I'm looking forward to the next round.
Yeah, I like the idea of being called plus 19. That sounds a far better age bracket than I'm in currently. So I'm really picking up from this is that the qualifications, that what we've heard of HNDs, HNCs, and the new T levels, A levels, it doesn't seem to be as important as aptitude and attitude.
Yeah, as I said, first and foremost for us it's attitude and aptitude.
Yeah.
But then there is a filter based on academic ability.
Yeah.
You don't need to have A stars in maths type academic ability. It's more the ability to work with science, work with engineering, and go through the process at the college and get the qualifications, because that does separate people out. But if there's somebody that's borderline, and we think if they're going to be right or not, but they're exactly the right people fit, we'll help nurture them, bring them through, work alongside the college, and there's a really strong relationship on that pastoral support, both from the college and from our buddy network we have internally, to help grow the person and give them the opportunity to succeed.
Brilliant. So, starting with you, Philip, on this, what's ahead for us? If you were to gauge in a crystal ball and look at where engineering is going and where and what kind of people you're going to be looking for. I know this is a hell of a thing, and crystal balls are usually quite difficult to read, so I'll accept it. Won't quote you on it. But what do you see? Where do you see your industry going?
Well, with DP, we wouldn't be DP without the people. If the people aren't coming from the schools, going in, wanting to go and learn engineering and manufacturing at college, then we won't be DP. The technology shift has definitely moved. It's not, you're going to get dirty at work. You're not going to be going home stinking. It's a very clean environment. It's a very attractive environment. But the technology shift with the robotics and the automation is the biggest thing where we see. Yes, you've got the 3D additive manufacturing coming through. Where that sits, probably need a bigger crystal ball. But probably more the automation and the newer technology that comes through is going to be the big game changer in our industry.
And this is shifting at quite a speed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about manufacturing, Peter?
I'd agree with Philip. So Eliquo, Hydrok, again, we're investing in automation, technology, and we need those skills coming through, both at a junior level and at the more experienced level, and pull that through. But also for the future, and talking wider macroeconomics for a minute, it's going to be challenging for many people's pockets going forward. And at the moment, there's low unemployment, so many companies, Philip may be the same, we're struggling to recruit enough people. Partly that's why we're investing in technology. I think 18 months, 2 years away, potentially that might be a bit more challenging for employees looking for a role. So what I feel people looking for future skills need to bear in mind is looking for an employer that's got a good growth curve, a healthy future ahead of them and a career and some job security, which might not necessarily be the case at the moment, but 18 months, 2 years' time, I think that's what people might be looking for as well.
Okay, so you're encouraging those out there looking for a job or looking for a new career to actually research the companies they're going to work for.
Yes.
We've got a people problem more than as much as a skills problem here, and we just doesn't seem to be enough people. The fact that you can bring the skills up through the business is strengthen your arm, isn't it?
I think increasingly we're also finding that when people come for a job interview at any level in the company, there's a lot more consideration in people's minds about what the company do and where they fit in. So we manufacture things for the water treatment industry that takes phosphorus out of wastewater treatment, for example. So there's quite high green credentials. We effectively make water better. So we're finding candidates at any level are asking us those questions when they come in. Now, what do you do? Where do you fit in? I don't want to work for somebody that does oil and gas, for example. I quite like what you guys do and how water keep going round. So that's increasingly a kind of a green streak in candidates that are coming through now.
Yeah, it's definitely not just here's your role, that's what you're getting paid. There's definitely a lot more in that circle now, isn't there, for sure. Location being one of them. Well, your ability outside of work, the flexibility to be able to go and enjoy the scenery around here. People want more than just that's what I'm getting paid. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay, and interesting on the sustainability and the greening of businesses, that people are starting to become more selective over who they work for is hopefully a call to business to actually look at what they do. We're here on the Future Skills Show, Nick. I know this is very difficult. How does education keep up with trying to be almost 2 years ahead of industry in deciding what you're going to teach these students? Because obviously you don't want to bring them out with skills that are 2 years old in such a fast-paced environment. How does education do that?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I suppose at the core of it, qualifications are really important from the point of view they provide a structure to someone's development. So we run courses all the way from level 2 right up to level 4, 5 and above, and that's everything in between. I think when we're looking at qualifications, we're driven really by central policy. So we will have influence over qualifications and what's in them and the type and the content, but it's very much driven by a large number of people in industry who guide the policy on what that qualification should do. So you can take a particular qualification and look at the actual details and the content that's delivered within that. And generally things are very fresh at the moment. There's just been a lot of changes in qualifications. everything through from T levels through to the new apprenticeship diplomas or standards. So it's relatively fresh from that point of view. So we have got to be ahead, and I think we've got to be mindful that companies are selfish. And rightly so. You know, they're looking after their business interests, and that's a really the most important thing is survival. Having the right people, having the right technology and the right equipment, and so on. But when it comes to apprentices and training, we're helping people to develop, and they're not always going to work for the same employer. They might choose to move. Hopefully, they don't. But allowing them that ability to have transferable skills, and that's really where qualifications come in, where they're broad. They're broad to the point where you've got the ability to go and do different things in your life or different things within the industry. Not everything you deliver in a qualification is immediately obvious how you can use it or where you can use it, but it will have relevance in there. So we are driven really by central policy, but there is the skill of the teacher where they look at the qualification, they look at the content, and they look at the environment and the local companies and the employment opportunities, and think, how can I adapt this? How can I add in value to that qualification to make it relevant to industry locally? How can I give examples locally of what's really good and what's going to happen in the future? And I think that's really, although you do have to meet outcomes within the qualifications, you're free to adapt what you deliver and teach to an extent. And I think that's the skill of the teacher really, is to have that knowledge and understanding of industry, to make sure that the people finishing that qual have not only got great skills, great knowledge, great awareness of technology, but also that they understand the industry. And I think that's really where we're aiming.
And quite a tricky game as well, unless we get these people able to go in and see what goes on in manufacturing and engineering in this case, and understand the roles that are available, because it's a bit of a mystery. Yeah.
I think that's particularly difficult. The past couple of years, getting students out into industry, either for work placement or visitors and trips, very, very hard. We're a bit on the back foot with that now. We're building that capacity up again. So I've got one group that we're looking at 5 or 6 trips over the next month to different companies. So they've got exposure to different employers. So they've got an understanding of what they do. I mean, they're coming to the end of a qualification and they're looking for a job now. They're a good group of students, and to get them the best opportunities, they need to be exposed to industry to see what opportunities are out there. And I think we've got to remember that leaving school, you've done a number of different qualifications, GCSEs that may or may not have touched on manufacturing, engineering, and that sort of side of it. But when you come to college, you're choosing to do something that you really want to do, you love to do, and spend your life doing in most instances. And that's why it's important to get that exposure to younger people quickly, early, so they've got that at the forefront of their mind, that actually technology is out there and great jobs are out there for technology and engineering students. So when you choose a course at college, you're coming to do exactly what you want to do.
Okay, brilliant. So we're coming to the end of our slot, our time now. And so one thing I just want to get in is if you've got any myths that you'd like to dispel about your industry. Is there something that goes on in your industry that you think, I wish people understood that it's just not like that?
I think I touched on it earlier. It's engineering can be deemed as the dirty sort of processes. You go in a boiler suit, come out covered in oil, but it's far from. We're making stuff for aerospace. If we have dirty components or FOD, which is foreign object debris, within our parts, then it's going to cause problems. So it's a very clean environment. It's a very snazzy environment. I should say it's high tech. The technology we're using, we got some equipment which we were the first in the UK to have, and that's in a company in Cornwall. So I think the biggest thing for us is that it's not dirty, it's clean, it's very high tech. It's going to get more techie within the computer sort of side of things, and try and bleed that out with it, I think.
Okay. What about manufacturing?
From our perspective, I'd say there's good quality manufacturing and engineering jobs in Cornwall.
Okay.
Bust that myth. For all genders, we're really proud of what we're doing there. They can be well paid. We pay more than the national minimum for apprentices. And also there's more than one route. It's not all just about going to university and getting a qualification. We do take people from university for particular roles, but if you've done your GCSEs and you want to get a vocational qualification, there's that route as well, and we can do that. And as Philip says, I agree. It's not all oily boiler suits and swearing on the shop floor. There's actually some really good quality roles, both office-based and shop floor-based.
Thank you. And in education in this area, have you got any myths you fancy busting, Nick?
God. I think, there is one. There is one I think we need to do better on. And I think that's promotion of the industry in are and awareness of what we do in Cornwall for the general public, but also for careers advisors who are there and are doing a very important role in schools to advise people on what job opportunities may be out there in the future. It's not just for girls. It's not dirty. It's high-end technology and it's accessible for every gender and everyone. And I think that it's something that we need to promote better in schools.
So by the sounds of that, we need to start earlier. I got from that is that we need to start at 10, need to get them into business and show them. I've seen a number of things where people have gone to to a museum or gone to a science exhibit or been to a business with their parents and then kind of go, oh yeah, that's the career I want to go into. And unless they see it bright and early, they can't shape their career towards it. They can't shape their education towards it. They can't perhaps even get excited about it because it's quite easy to get to 17 and kind of go, all right, I'm going to go out and look. I've been studying engineering and what do I do? I'll go visit a whole stack of companies. It's kind of too late by that point.
Yeah, it is.
So we need to get businesses involved in educating the as early as possible, and the wider anybody's interested in a career change. Brilliant. So my thanks to Nick and Peter and Philip on their time with us today, and for you out there who've chosen to tune in and listen either or watch the recording. So if you are a business struggling to find the right skills, or a person of any age wanting to investigate a new career and find the best education pathways, then go to the Truro and Penwith College website at truro-penwith.ac.uk. Feel free to connect with me, Russell Cosway, on LinkedIn. I'm the one labelled a kindness pirate. And don't forget to mention the Future Skills Show. Thank you all, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Cheers.